Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a Lambda Shop module, attach a Lambda function to it, as well as some AWS resources, and then deploy it into your AWS account. So let's get started. So the Lambda Shop CLI has a few commands for creating modules, adding functions, as well as resources. Now in this sample, I'm assuming you have already created a Lambda Shop deployment tier that you can deploy into. At the end, we'll also take a look at it in the AWS console, specifically under CloudFormation, to see what has been created. So now let's go over to our favorite IDE, in my case at VS Code, and I use the integrated shell for running the Lambda Shop CLI commands. So the first one we need to run is creating a new module file. We can specify the module name on the command line, or if not, as you can see here, you get prompted by the CLI so that it can proceed and create the YAML file for you. The YAML file contains all the definitions for your Lambda Shop module. The first thing which is required is the name, the full name of your module, which is the namespace as well as the module name. If you omit the namespace, as I did, it will automatically prefix my period to your module name. The rest of the definitions here that follow are optional. They're the version number as well as the description for your module, and lastly, what definitions are part of your module under the items section. So now let's go ahead and add a new function. And similar to when we created the module, we could have specified the function name on the command line, or we get prompted for it. Enter. Now there's multiple base classes you could use for your function, and the command will automatically ask you for which one you want. In this example, I'm just going to use the generic one. It's just a generic request response Lambda implementation. And once we have that, it will add the function to our Lambda file, as well as a CS project file with the source code for the function itself. Okay, now let's VS Code resolve the dependencies. Let's go back to the terminal, and let's take a look here at the function. So this is just pretty simple C# code. We have two definitions. One is the request payload and the response payload for our Lambda function. We also have the function itself, which derives from a Lambda function, which is one of the base classes that are part of the Lambda Shop SDK. And here we specify the two types for the request and the response, which are defined above. There are two entry points. One is initialize, which is used for initializing the function. It's called exactly once. And the second one is an endpoint that gets called for every single invocation. And in this case, we simply are returning an empty response. So let's leave it at that. So the next thing we wanted to do was add a resource. So let's add an SNS topic. So /new resource. And in this case, we do have to specify the name, so my topic, and the resource type right here, SNS topic. And now underneath our Lambda function, we can see that a new definition has been added. And in addition to all the placeholders that CloudFormation might expect, there's also links to the documentation itself and the data types expected by these properties and if they're required. So for example, if you have a subscription, you must specify the endpoint and the protocol of that subscription. Okay, in this case, I just want a generic topic. So I'm just going to remove these properties and we are ready to go. So I have already created my deployment here. So I can just now go ahead and say Lambda Shop deploy. And this will automatically compile my project, generate the CloudFormation file, upload everything into my AWS account using the deployment bucket of my deployment tier, and instantiate the CloudFormation template. Excellent. So that is complete. It took a little while. Some of the resources take longer than others. And now that this is deployed, if we actually ran the deploy command again, we would see that nothing would happen because it's an idempotent deploy, which detects if any changes have occurred. So I'm going to switch over to CloudFormation. And here we can now see this is the stack we just created. It contains the resources, so the role that we need for the Lambda function, my function, which was the C# code we looked at earlier, login group, and then the topic that is part of it. So that's it. Very, very simple, very straightforward. Now, if you want to learn more, there's a few resources. You can go to lambdashop.net. That's where all the documentation is located for the LambdaShop tool, the CLI, the SDK, as well as the syntax for the modules. And you can also follow us on LambdaSharp on Twitter, as well as on GitHub, where all the source for the tool as well as the sample is published. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was useful. Please leave comments and suggestions for future videos to record. Happy hacking!